I caught my brother stealing from our dying mom, but the secret she revealed after was even worse. My mom had lung cancer. I remember the exact moment I walked in on Jake, my brother, taking her opioid patches she desperately needed for her pain. I confronted him right then and there, demanding to know what he was doing. At first he tried to deny it, but I kept pushing, and eventually he just snapped. "Fine, yeah, I'm stealing them," he blurted out. "And guess what? I've been doing it every night. Every time she goes to bed, I walk in, kiss her on the forehead, say goodnight, mommy, and then reach under the bed to take more. Is that what you wanted to hear?" I was floored, but it didn't stop there. He went on to say he had even convinced our mom she was misplacing the patches, pretending to help her look for them. When I asked him why, his excuse was that he was selling them because he owed money to some dangerous people. He actually tried to justify it by saying, "She's going to die anyway, so I might as well save my own life. It's what she would want." That's when I lost it. I started yelling, calling him pathetic, a coward, and a disgrace for a son. In the middle of it all, the door swung open and there stood our mom. She looked so weak and frail, barely able to stand, but she was determined to know what was going on. She wouldn't stop asking, even though I knew the truth would crush her. I hesitated, but she wouldn't let it go. Finally, I told her, quietly but directly, that Jake had been stealing her pain patches to sell them for money. The look on her face broke me. I'll never forget it. It was like all the life drained out of her right there. Tears filled her eyes, and she looked at Jake, who stood there, ashamed. She asked him if it was true, and all he could do was nod. He tried to explain himself, saying he was in deep trouble with some bad people. He stood there, helpless, but I couldn't bring myself to pity him. Over the next few days, Jake and I barely spoke, and the tension was unbearable. I couldn't believe he had stooped this low. Eventually, I started digging into the situation, and what I found was even worse. Jake had been gambling heavily, racking up thousands in debt at a casino. Worse still, I found out he had been draining money from our mom's bank account, all while she was struggling to pay her medical bills. I confronted him late one night in the kitchen while he was making a sandwich. When I laid out everything I knew, Jake broke down. He confessed that he was deep in debt and didn't know how to get out. He said he was sorry and didn't mean for things to get this bad, but at that moment, I didn't care. I told him to leave. Jake packed his things and left without a fight, but even with him gone, the weight of what he had done hung over me. My mom's condition worsened, and her pain was unbearable. Every time I looked at her, I was reminded of how Jake had betrayed her. A few days later, I heard a noise in the house, and found Jake sneaking around, trying to steal more of Mom's things: jewelry, electronics, anything he could sell. I grabbed him and told him I was calling the police. He begged me not to, but I had had enough. I dialed, and the police came and took him away. After Jake was gone, Mom's health rapidly declined. The cancer spread, and the doctors said there was nothing more they could do. She passed away peacefully, but the loss felt unbearable. At her funeral, Jake was let out of jail to attend, and when I saw him, I couldn't hold back. I told him I never wanted to see him again, that I couldn't forgive him for what he did to our mom. For weeks, I tried to move on, but the anger and grief weighed me down. Mom had asked me to forgive Jake, and I knew deep down that she wouldn't want us to be at odds, but it was too hard. Jake sent letters from jail, apologizing and asking for forgiveness, but I couldn't bring myself to respond. One day, I got a call from the prison. Jake had been involved in a fight and was in the hospital. I didn't know how to feel. Part of me wanted to rush to his side, but another part of me was still too angry. I stayed home, unsure of what to do. Weeks later, another letter arrived from Jake. This one was short. He simply wrote, "I'm sorry, I love you, please forgive me." I stared at the words for a long time before finally deciding to let go of the anger. I grabbed a piece of paper and wrote back. "Jake, I got your letter. I thought a lot about what you wrote, and I've decided to forgive you, but this is the last time you'll hear from me. I need to move on with my life, and that means letting go of the past, and letting go of you. Mom asked me to forgive you, and I think she'd want me to do this. I hope you can find peace." I mailed the letter the next day, knowing this was the end for us. It wasn't easy, but I knew that forgiving Jake was the only way to find peace for myself. I don't know what will happen to him, but I know I've done what Mom wanted. Now, it's time to move on.